Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. I have another Transformers The Last Night review for you today. This is Voyager class Decepticon Nitro. In the movie he was called Nitro Zeus, but I'm guessing they couldn't get the rights to that name, or however they decided to go about naming this guy for the actual toy. But it is the same character. Not too much going on in the packaging on this side. Over here it just says Decepticon Nitro Lethal Hunter. So there you go. Packaging pretty boring. On the back you can see Nitro. Here is Scorn. He's in the same wave, which we've already taken a look at. So there you go. Pretty much it for the packaging. So let's go ahead, get him out, and we'll take a closer look. Alright, so here we have Nitro out of the packaging. I'll probably call him Nitro Zeus at some point, just because that's what I'm used to calling him. He does have a decent amount of plain kibble here on his back. Doesn't really get in the way of articulation, so that's nice. And I wouldn't really mind these at all, but this big panel here is kind of a bummer. You can kind of fold these up if it helps you. In my opinion, it doesn't really make it any better, but it's up to you, personal preference. You can kind of see that the head jiggles, and the reason for that is it comes off. And if you look at this, first of all, I love the head sculpt. It's very Shockwave-esque with that one single eye. Really reminds me of that. Nothing going on in the back here, but if you'll notice, it has like a Titan Master peg, and it can swivel all around. It is a ball joint, just like a Titan Master. And the reason for that is, originally in the movie, well, I should say in the movie, Cogman is a headmaster. That's why he's the same size as humans, but this point is never brought up in the movie. He has a car that he drives. He is supposed to be able to transform with that car. That's his transtector. That would become the body. He would transform into the head. Cogman is a headmaster, but apparently, I don't know if they shot scenes or if they just kind of made it to storyboards and then they cut it for time or money or whatever the reason. So it's never addressed that Cogman is a headmaster. But what was supposed to happen is Nitro's head was supposed to come off during battle, and then Cogman was going to transform and jump into his body. You can see here there's a connection. So just for fun, I have Thunderwing's head here. Transform it and pop it in. If I can get this to go in. There we go. So there you go. You can put any Titans Return Headmaster in here. Actually, that kind of looks good. I kind of like Thunderwing's head in there. So that's what was supposed to happen. In the movie, Cogman was going to turn into a headmaster and take over Nitro's body after kicking Nitro's head off, and then he was going to use this body in battle. Again, the scene got cut. For whatever reason, we don't know. But it's cool that the toy still has the functionality, and any Titan Master can fit in there. So I'm going to take him back out, put this head back in. So that is kind of why his head is a little loose. But it's a pretty neat gimmick, so I'm okay with it. Because I really wish that happened in the movie. That would have been so cool. Otherwise, he has this giant shield as part of his forearm and arm, which you can see is made out of the fuselage of the plane. And then over here, he's just kind of got this like Gatling gun type accessory on his other arm. But pretty cool. I really like his design. I like the color scheme. I love that Headmaster gimmick, even if it does kind of give him a little bit of a bobblehead, which is unfortunate, but to me, it's worth it because, I don't know, I just think that's such a cool idea that they were going to take over his body. So I wish it had happened. Articulation-wise, as you saw, the head is on a ball joint because it's a Titan Master ball joint. You have swivel here in the shoulder, out to the side, bicep swivel, elbow joint, pretty much, I guess it goes a little bit past, but pretty much 90 degrees front. The wrist can rotate, but that's really for the transformation. No torso articulation, but you do have a hip. Now these come apart because of the transformation, and the hip joints are pretty tight, but you can see out to the side, front and back, But again, they're really tight, so I just need to loosen them up through working them back and forth. Pretty much 90 degrees in the elbow. The knee, that's his knee. Otherwise, this leg is a solid piece. You have a little bit of rotation here in the ankle, but again, really that's for transformation. But it all works. You can definitely get some poses out. He's a little back heavy because of all this kind of kibble in the back. And these can actually rotate up and down a little bit. So if you want to, you can see you have these missiles pegged in up here. They just peg in. You can pop them right off if you want to. Although they're pretty tightly pegged in. I'll take them off for now, and I'll show them to you in a minute. But yeah, I really like the robot mode. I think it looks good. As soon as you can find, just get him in a position, a pose. He does have some decent heels, so that's nice. He's not going to fall back on you since he's a little back heavy. But once you get him in a good pose, I think he looks great. I really do like the design. I think he's got a nice amount of articulation for the robot mode. And I absolutely adore that headmaster gimmick. These little things, they're just painted solid white little missile clusters. I kind of wish they were off, you know, like this light gray color. Because the really bright white is just kind of jarring and does not fit with the rest of the robot mode in any way. So I would have just the same light gray color would have been fine, or black would have been fine, or just not stark white. I don't know why putting them off to the side. They don't fit. Nothing else on this toy is white. So I don't know why the missiles were. It's a weird choice. And you can tell that they were painted white. Because see how underneath here, this light gray color? Why didn't they could have just made these out of light gray and left them light gray. No paint required. I mean, it's a nice paint job. It's very clean, but it's just a weird choice. In any case, I like this robot mode a lot. But let's go ahead and let's get into the transformation. So the transformation is definitely very complex. But after you do it a few times, it's not bad. It's just getting there that first time, it's kind of a little confusing. You can start by rotating the fist into the forearm, and that just kind of stops right there. And then you can actually collapse that inside, just like that, very simple. Come over to this arm, and you're going to want to, you have these two kind of blades, which I kind of like because it makes it look like a little bit like a bow and arrow. You're going to want to fold these in. And sometimes they get a little unlined up. That's not a word, but and I'll show you what I mean. When you're pushing them in, sometimes, like especially this piece here, will hit the plastic like too high, and you just kind of have to push it down to make sure it goes in the slot. But once you get it in there, it's all good. And then you can take these, and these have like an extra joint here, you can see, right down there. And then that's going to accordion out and then fold straight against. So out, up, and then they will peg together up here in the front. And then once you have that all done, that is pretty much the entire fuselage front section nose cone of the plane. Boom, right there. So if you wanted, you could fold it all up like that and just have use it as like a stabbing weapon. Again, your personal preference if you like that motif, aesthetic, whatever term you'd like to use. You can bend the ankles down like this so that they're kind of flat like that. You take the head, and this is kind of where it starts to get interesting. So you want to reach behind, and I know it's all black, so it'll probably be difficult to show. He has these super tiny little Gatling guns right here and here. So you can kind of put your finger there, and then this whole section will lift up like that. Then you want to take a hold of the head and kind of rock back. There's a second little joint right here, right behind the head. It's going to be impossible to show you because it's all black. But right here, you can see that little bit of plastic moves back. And you need to do that, otherwise the rest of the transformation in the back here won't work. And then you can turn the head 180 degrees and get that ready there. Then you will open up those legs like I showed you earlier, how they kind of opened up, similar to kind of how Scorn's legs work actually. So you can see how that opens up like that. So this one you can just kind of put off to the side. This one's pretty cool. So right here, right where my finger is, you can kind of see there's a joint, and this whole thing will lift straight up. Now the reason it does that is so that you can take the arm and bring this down, because since this is the whole nose cone of the plane, this is going to swivel and pivot down to here, and then you're going to get this leg out of the way so you can see. Rotate this around, and then you can see how there's two pegs here. They're going to peg into, there's a peg hole right there where my finger is. So you just bring this in, situate it all, and then just kind of finagle it until it all pegs together. And then you can see that is one solid pegged in section now. So I apologize, I'm kind of too close. I want to get these legs out of the way. So there you go. You can see that is all pegged together. Solid. So the next thing you want to do, and like I said, I know it looks a mess. You can bring this and put this back down, put that back into place, and then you can just kind of collapse the legs against this for now. Straighten these out. So that's kind of what it's going to look like for this middle section here when you're all done. The next thing you're going to do is take this arm, what was the left arm, and now this, because you have this whole open canopy or open top section here. Hooray! This is going to go back in here and come around to the other side. If I can get this going. There we go. Now you have to make sure that this shoulder pad stays out, because that's going to come completely over like that. And then this you'll kind of just bring in and just kind of push as close as you can. I know these are in the way and they're not providing any light. So just like that. Now you can see there's these two big pegs here and here. And this is where the arms or the legs are going to attach. So you want to spin these around on this joint. And there's kind of a multi-connection aspect going on here. You can see right under here, there's kind of a little tab. And that's going to kind of tab into the legs in this area. So you kind of have to like wriggle this in here. There's also some like little connections here. So get that snapped in, and then this peg where my finger is going to peg in underneath. I know you can't see it. I'll have to, well, I'll show it to you on the other foot. You can see where it is on that foot. So that's what's going to peg in. If I can get it to peg in. There you go. So that side's pegged in pretty snugly. You're going to rotate this around, do the exact same thing, make sure that it pegs in right there. For some reason, this one's a lot tighter on mine. I don't know why this one is so much tighter. There we go. And then peg in to the foot as I showed you earlier. There you go. So that's pretty darn compact when you have this all said and done. You can see underneath here. Pretty good. So now you have most of your plane figured out. You have these two big sections on the back. Now, this gave me some trouble. You kind of just want to loosen this whole top section. You can see it's on a little hinge. It's just like two thin pieces of plastic on like two little nubs to give it kind of a hinge. So you want to lift it just a bit because you have to unpeg it from the front. You can see the big plastic piece that's connected there, and then you can kind of flip out these wings, and then you want to peg it back in. But see, you can already see how like mine comes unpegged, and you want to peg it underneath there. So anyway, these are the joints I'm talking about right here. It's just these two little plastic struts. And for some reason, mine has a lot of trouble rotating around on that. It likes to just basically pop completely off. So be aware. This piece will flip back out. And you can kind of just bring this out of the way a little bit. Again, you want to lift this just a smidge so that you can unhook this. And then this will all fold out. And then you can push it back in and it pegs under the wing there. So that's in perfectly. And then flip this panel back out. So the way this pegs in, you can see there's a big, thick tab there. That's going to peg into this right here. Right there. And then this black piece here will kind of rest in that little bed right there. And then this peg will fit into this peg hole right there. Right there. So I apologize. I know the light's not doing the best because everything's... So peg that in there, peg this in on the back, and then peg in that tab. And then you will have your finished wing. Do the same on the other side. And there you go. You have your wings. And then this whole section just drops back very simply. And then fold up this. So there you go. It is difficult, like I said. The first couple times, there's a bit of a learning curve. But once you get it and you can kind of figure out what to do, then it's just kind of making sure everything lines up. But it's a really nice jet mode that you're left with. I like it a lot. You can bring out landing gear underneath here. And I will move this around. There we go. So it's a pretty nice jet. I really do like it a lot. Like I said, you have this, so if you wanted to bring these down a little bit, if you like that look, if you wanted to, I guess they don't go up, but you could bring them down if you want, or you can just leave them straight out like that. But yeah, it's a nice looking jet. Now obviously the landing gear does not roll, so that doesn't work. But if you see here, the cockpit does open. And you can bring a Titan Master in. It takes a little bit of finagling to get him up in there, to get his legs underneath. But you can fit him in. Well, now he's not going to close all the way for me. There we go. You can fit a Titan Master in the cockpit. I really like that. I like Titan Masters are pretty much infiltrating every toy line because they're my favorite and I love them. So I think it's really cool that he can ride in there. Obviously you have these two peg holes underneath. If you want to bring in your missiles, you can peg them in there. So then they're underneath the wings. But yeah, overall, I really like this vehicle mode a lot. It's a lot of work the first couple times to get it in there. But once you get the hang of it, I feel like it does get a little bit easier each time. And I'm pretty impressed with the jet mode you're left with. It's a very good looking jet mode. And I think they did a pretty decent job of hiding the robot kibble underneath. You don't see any like head or fists, real obvious legs or anything. I mean, obviously the chest is still here a little bit, but it kind of blends in well. So really well done. I love that a Titan Master can fit in the cockpit. Really excellent jet mode in my opinion. So I like Nitro a lot. Great vehicle mode, great robot mode. Paint applications look good. Articulation's great in robot mode. I think the plane mode looks really solid. I love the Titan Master gimmick. You can switch out the heads. You can fit a Titan Master in the cockpit in vehicle mode. There's a lot to love about this guy. The only thing, if I had to have any complaints, I think the stark white paint job on the missiles is a little out of place and just kind of really stands out. That's probably the only thing I would change. Other than that, I don't really have anything to complain about. I mean, sure, he's got a little bit of kibble on his back and it makes him a little back heavy, but you can certainly find a good pose that this guy's not going to fall over. It's just kind of, finicking with him and finding a good pose that the weight distribution is even. But yeah, there's a lot to love about this guy, and if you can find him, I definitely recommend picking him up. I think he's a blast. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinions. Please like and share this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys have enjoyed this look at Decepticon Nitro from Transformers The Last Knight. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching.